the first day of summer camp. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
I've got everything packed. I'm so pumped. Look at this. We've got lunchbox. I got all my cameras charged, portable charger, cord, iPad if I get bored and I want to play some online stuff for the Bankroll Challenge. We're ready. So let me fill you guys in on the Bankroll Challenge. I'm starting with $20,000 and I'm trying to run it all the way up to $100,000 playing mostly tournaments. And the way I'm gonna do that is following all these rules on the screen that Jesse gave to me as good guidelines. All of these numbers represent the amount of buy-ins I need to have in my bankroll at any given time in order to play that buy-in. So using the first one as an example, with $20,000 in my bankroll, if I need 50 buy-ins to play a single day MTT, that means the biggest buy-in I can play currently on this roll is a $400 event. By the way, if you guys are not professional poker players, you don't need to be nearly as strict with your bankroll because you have another source of income. Obviously, a lot of World Series events are bigger than $400. So for that, I'm gonna be selling action over on Stake Kings. Thanks to those of you who have already bought some action. I'll post the link up here if you guys wanna get in on a fun sweat. All right, you guys, first event on the list is a $600 at the Wynn 2-day tournament. Let's do it. All right, you guys, second break of the day. Quick update for you. We flop top set in a 3-way pot and scoop a big one down when the flush draw bricks. Then I get ace queen and squeeze against 3 people who had already entered the pot. This guy with only 600 chips or something more than my squeeze goes all in. So now we're in like a huge 4-way bloated pot, but one guy's all in. I do not hit an ace or a queen, and the guy with deuces holds up to quadruple up. The other 2 guys had ace jack and ace jack, so lost a little bit back there. And then just before we got on break, I squeezed pocket queens, yet again another squeeze against these same 2 opponents. Flop comes ace high. We check it all the way down to the river. Another ace comes out on the turn, and on the river, the hijack leads very small. He bets 4,500, and I call because he could be value betting worse, but he has ace king offsuit that did not 3-bet himself pre-flop. So we've had kind of like a roller coastery start, but we are up in chips. We got 40K from 30K starting stack, and I am late from break, so I'm gonna run back inside.
And once we sit back down, the run good continues. In a 4-way pot, we flop bottom set. The original raiser checks it over to me. I bet 3,000, which is a third of the pot. The other 2 players fold, and the pre-flop raiser just makes the call. The turn is an offsuit 10, so it's getting a little dicey, but we're gonna continue with our aggression. Obviously, with bottom set, we can still charge a lot of 2-pair hands and pair plus straight draw hands. So this time I size up to 10K, and to my surprise, the hijack player snap goes all in. He covers me, so I would have to call off 17,500. But I think with bottom set, if he has a straight, take my money. So I put in the rest of it, and to my surprise, he flips over ace queen offsuit. So we've got him drawing dead on the turn. That is a really good feeling. And with that, we're up 40,000 on the day after 5 hours of play. A few hours later, I get into another monster pot. This time I've semi-bluffed shove, my nut flush draw, and my opponent unfortunately calls me off with ace queen. So we need to hit a club. This pot is huge, 110,000 in the middle, plus I've got more behind. Please dealer, one time. The turn comes out 7 of hearts. The river is black card. Unfortunately, it's the wrong black card, and we ship over all of our earnings plus a little more on the day over to our opponent's good hand. Now we've got crumbs and we need to double it up. We move tables immediately, which is always kind of embarrassing when you have few chips in your stack and now you're moving to a new table. But anyway, I get in queens and have a little hope with the double up there. Unfortunately, the very next hand, I get 10-8 suited, jam it in for my less than 10 big blinds, and we do not get there against the ace queen.
First bust out of the summer is in the books. I feel nothing, no pain. I'm ready to come back and do it again. Let's go. All right, these are what the nights are gonna look like. Playing some online poker, watching some streams. This is a $1 million game. We got Jesse, some dogs. This is how we're trying to get a bunch of volume in. Even if I bust a live tournament, I can make it back somehow. Ooh, and we just got a double.
Let's go.
Nice. So now we're 5 out of 7.
Ashley busted her tournament instead of sulking. Not that she sulks. She came home and fired up a bunch of online tournaments, and she's at 2 FTs.
The super has 2,800 up top. So we could actually win like decent amount. This one has 500 up top. So, I mean, we could have a decent score tonight.
Wednesday, we fire another online session and we basically break even on the night. Holy crap, you guys. I had a really long session. We're like almost 8 hours into today's session online. I busted the bracelet event twice on WSOP and now I'm heads up. I need to win this event to break even on the day, but like the fact that I could even break even on the day after being down 1,400 is like a win in my book. Oh, here we go. Hold. Woo! Nice. We did it. We got even on the day. Hell yeah.
What's going on here?
38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43,
Great, show me your counting skills.
Who's
57,
faster?
58.
She was
59,
faster
60,
before. I don't know what happened. I think she had a
62,
stroke halfway through. Just slowed down.
68.
Look who it is, making his first day too. Woohoo! Grant, how do you think he's gonna do?
He's going to do great. Both of you are.
Day one for Ashley.
It's official. The first walk down this hallway for the World Series of Poker. Jesse's cool enough to have already made a day two in Limit Hold'em.
It only took me 2 different tournaments to do it.
I was gonna play at the Win today, but he inspired me, so here we are. I'm just gonna jump into a daily just to get a little warm up, World Series warm up in. Woo, this is so exciting. You would think that this is my first World Series, I was not expecting it to be so hectic. I was just gonna register a daily deep stack, but the lines are crazy. It's a madhouse in there. So instead, I'm headed back to home sweet home.
I was gonna play at the Win today.
Holy crap, you guys, this is nuts. I have been circling, I don't know how long. Nobody is leaving the Win. I'm never coming at 2 p.m. ever again. 30 full minutes trying to park. 30! Hoping, just like stalking people in the parking lot, hoping that they're like the car parked right in front of me. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we made it. But there's more waiting. World Series of Lines.
We start off with 25K in our stack in this one, and it doesn't take too long before the first significant pot to happen. In this one, I look down at Ace Jack offsuit in the hijack and raise it up to 1,200, get 2 callers, and the dealer puts out the Ace 6 for 2 diamond flop. Being out of position against the button on the ace high flops, I'm gonna check this one a lot. So when I do have an ace, I'm gonna do the same. So I check it over to him and he checks back. The queen of clubs hits the turn, and this time the small blind decides to lead out into the two of us for 2,000. A little less than half pot bet. We're obviously not going anywhere, so I flick in the call. Button folds, and it's heads up to the queen of spades river. This time the small blind checks. So if he's the type of guy that will lead a queen on the turn, I'm certain that he will also stab again on the river if he made trips. So 99.9% sure that our ace is good here, especially how we played it. So we're gonna go for some value. I decide on 3,500. It takes him a while, but eventually he lands on a call. So we get value there on the river, and now our stack is up a little over 30K. We chip back down after whiffing a lot of different boards when the cutoff opens to 2,500. I look down at pocket aces in the small blind. I'm even more excited than usual in this spot because the big blind only has 20 big blinds. I've got 23 big blinds, so it's the perfect stack sizes for me to trap with aces. And on top of that, this big blind was not afraid to be putting his chips in the middle. So we set the trap by throwing in just the call, and then the big blind comes along. So we didn't get the shove out of him, but here we go. 3-way pot with pocket aces, and the board comes ace, queen, 8. 2 spades. So there is a flush draw out there, but we make top set. We're hoping that cutoff is going to try to represent that ace. So we check, the big blind checks. Unfortunately, the cutoff checks back. Womp womp. Plan is not going well so far, but the turn is a 7 of hearts. Now, obviously, we're going to take the lead, try to get some more money in this pot. I bet out 3K, and the big blind makes the call. Cutoff is out of there, so heads up to a river card, which is the 4 of spades. Yes, it completes the flush, and it looks a little bit scary, but because I bet so small on the turn, I've kept a lot of hands in the big blind's range. So his range of hands is still really wide by the time we get to this river. So I can't just be afraid of the flush getting there. I'm gonna go for some value against a queen, or maybe the last remaining ace will call me. So I stick in a bet of 7,000, crossing my fingers in my mind, hoping for a call, hoping he doesn't raise. And eventually, after almost 35 full seconds, my opponent lands on a fold. So the plan to trap my opponents didn't go fully according to the playbook, but at least we did not lose with pocket aces. There's always a silver lining. Did not get much going after that, and many levels later, we look down at King Jack off in the hijack. This one's an open, we raise it up to 2,500, and just the big blind comes along. He's only working with about 15K to start this hand. Flop comes out, Queen 3 Deuce Rainbow. Very easy c-bet on my part, so I put out 2,200, and the big blind does indeed call. So the turn comes out, 10 of hearts. That's really good for us. We pick up an open-ended straight draw, and because the big blind only has about 12K remaining, the pot's already 11K, I decided to just put maximum pressure on him, force him to make a decision for all of his chips. I put out 12,000 effective. He takes less than 10 seconds before folding, so glad that one worked out. We didn't have to sweat it for too long. By break time, we're only up 3,000 in chips, so we're looking to make something happen. And we immediately get an amazing spot when Under the Gun goes all in for 22,000. We've only got 24,000 in our stack and look down at Ace King off in the cutoff. So we go all in and we get the very good news that we're up against Ace Queen. So we just need to hold, baby, one time. Flop comes out 8-5-4, looking good. The turn is a queen. We don't get there on the river, and unfortunately, our stack is completely decimated. We've got 2 little chips left. We get in our last 2K with Ace Jack offsuit from Under the Gun. The button isolates everyone out of there by jamming the rest of his stack in, and we see we're up against Ace King. It doesn't look great when there's a king in the window, but the turn gives us some hope of quintupling up. And unfortunately, we don't get there on the river, and that's all she wrote.
Well, that was pretty lame. Losing Ace King to Ace Queen, but I love that tournament. That 550, I didn't know that it was a one-day tournament. 30-minute levels, there was $57,000 up top. That's huge. So I will definitely be back for that one. But for now, you know the drill. Once we bust, I'm running home to play online to try to win it back. Also, pro tip, now that it's 4:30 or so, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and all the beach club people went home, there's plenty of parking now. I'm probably gonna either come early and be on time, I'm gonna hope for that, or I'm just gonna max late reg, like the smaller buy-ins. That'll be the way to go in terms of traffic and parking. We're getting all the week 1 jitters out, all the week 1 fumbling around trying to figure out what the heck is going on around here.
And the online grind pays off in a huge way, where we get third in one of the bigger buy-ins of the night for $1,300 to make it all back and then some for the week. So the consistency, the discipline is working out well so far. On Saturday, we head back to the Wynn to play the exact same tournament. It's a one-day, $550 buy-in. The very first level, I'm actually seated. I'm here on time, you guys. And the Under the Gun opponent raises to 400, 4 times the big blind. I'm next to act, and I look down at Ace King offsuit. So we're gonna make this more money. I put in 1,500 to go, and Under the Gun pretty quickly calls. So already, before we see a flop, I'm putting my opponent on a middling to high pocket pair and some big suited cards to be raising up to 4x and then calling a 3-bet. So the flop comes out 9-6-6, 2 hearts, and a diamond. Surprisingly, the Under the Gun player leads into me for 2,500, a relatively large lead. So this is the type of spot I just have to rely on my intuition, because if I study 3-bet pots at home, I'm not going to find a spot where Under the Gun is leading into me as a 3-better on a 9-6-6 board. The types of hands that I'm suspecting he would do this with if he had to pick some would be 10s through queens, maybe 7s or 8s that's a little bit worried about overcards and just wants to take it down now. Maybe occasionally he will just lead with strong flush draws, but I just don't think that's very likely. So against that range, for this sizing that he went, if I call this flop, it's kind of just like a break-even call at best. And if he does only do this with pairs, then I'm definitely losing in the long run by continuing on this flop. So I just trust in my intuition. I just want to cut my losses here. I end up laying it down. Something that Jesse brought up to me later, which is a cool idea, is if you're thinking about folding this, then it might be cool to just turn it into a bluff raise. The only problem with that is that you're relying on your opponent to fold queens, jacks, and 10s after you raise and then maybe jam turn. So I don't really trust that in level 1, people are going to play 10s through queens this way, lead out on the flop, and then just give up when I raise. So I don't know. I think it's kind of close, but I just wanted to bring it up because it was kind of a cool spot that normally I would have just called the flop and continued. But in this spot, I kind of broke it down in my brain, and happily looking at the math afterwards, I think it was a decent fold. I felt validated later on when in a 3-way pot, this same opponent led into the pre-flop raiser again on queen 6-3 all hearts. When both of us folded, he showed king of hearts, queen of diamonds. Next level, I open jack 6 of clubs on the button and both blinds come along. 3 ways, the dealer puts out queen 6-5 with 2 clubs. We love this flop. Both opponents check to me, and I'm gonna clear out some overcards, etc. So I throw out a 600 chip bet. Just the big blind makes the call. So heads up, the turn is a deuce of hearts. It's a pretty big brick, but I don't wanna start overvaluing my hand and only getting called by better. I think it's close either way on this turn, but I decide to just check it back. The river brings my flush. It's a 3 club. Very excited about this one. Big blind thinks for a few seconds before checking, and I decide on a sizing of a little bit more than half pot for 1600. He doesn't take too long before flicking in the call because he has pocket 3s. So insane river for us. We make a flush and my opponent finally hits a card that he feels comfortable calling on. Good for him for not raising, and we take down another pot, finally putting us back over starting stack after the first couple of hands did not go our way. So things are about to go off the rails in this one. New player sits down in the big blind. When it folds around to me in the small, I just flick in the extra 100 chip and she checks back. I've got 7-4 of hearts. It's a pretty hand, one of Jesse's favorites. And when the flop comes down, ace 10, 3, 2 diamonds, and that heart, I look at this board like it's got a bunch of backdoor possibilities. There's a lot of potential. So I put out a small c-bet of 300. She does not think too long before calling. The turn is a 6 of clubs, and there's one of my backdoor openings. We now have a gut shot. So I'm just gonna keep putting on the pressure. I'm gonna size way up on this turn, just like I would do if I had a decent ace or a strong 2-pair hand, anything like that. So I make it 1200 into 1500. Again, she kind of snaps me off. So I'm not feeling very comfortable, but when the river comes in 8 of spades, the flush draws brick, and she never really thought about raising me on any street. So while it is a little scary that she snapped me 2 times, it's also a little reassuring that she didn't even think about raising me on any street. So with that in mind, I've only got 7 high. I go for it. I pull the trigger on another hefty bet, 2500 into 39. And once again, she snap makes a decision, but this time it's not to call. She puts in a raise, makes it 12,000. Obviously, we're not calling, and actually this is really good news because if she's not going to fold, this is the second best option because I don't have to show my 7 high. So I flick it in the muck and lose a big chunk of my stack.
I was afraid of that flush draw.
You're afraid of the flush draw?
Yeah.
You gotta love to just snap like, oh, what? You're like, oh.
It's better than having to sweat it out. During the same level, I pick up ace jack offsuit, and it's about to be a big one. I open to 700 under the gun. Under the gun 1 is that same opponent who I tried to bluff, and she makes the call. Small blind also comes along. So 3 ways we see the king 10-6 rainbow flop. With the gutter in these positions, I think you could go either way, but I decided to check this time, and under the gun 1 did the same. The turn smashes us. It is the queen of diamonds, and I get even more excited when small blind starts reaching for chips. He throws out a bet of of 1400. And in a three-way pot, there are diamond draws. There's some other stuff that I think will call a raise, like pair plus straight draws. So I'm going to try to get more money in now rather than wait till the river. So I put out a raise of 4,200. Once again, my snap call queen to the left throws out the call and the small blind goes into the tank. He thinks for a while, verifies the sizing and the fact that Under the Gun 1 did call, and then he finally puts in the remaining chips. So all three of us in this huge 15,000 chip pot, only in the third level, see a 10 of clubs on the river. Obviously, that gives some things a boat, maybe a king 10 or queen 10, pocket sixes that sort of slow play the turn a little bit. But it also gives hands like jack 10 or 9-10 trips. It gives king queen a feeling of safety that flush draws didn't get there, etc. So when the small blind checks it to me, I think that I can still go for some value. I land on a size of 7K, and once again, Under the Gun 1 snap calls, almost beats me into the pot, and then small blind, after tanking so long on the turn, almost beats her in the pot by going all in over the top for 15,200. Oy vey, I mean, this really is a crappy spot. I'm trying to get value from hands that I beat, obviously, and I don't think that small blind is ever going to be going all in over the top with a worse hand. I did go into the tank for a really long time because part of me was just having a funeral for my hand, but the other part of me was thinking, man, does this guy ever go all in with a worse straight? Or does he ever go all in with the chop? I just have to rely on my gut and fold this one. So I toss it into the muck reluctantly. And once again, Under the Gun 1 comes in with a snap call. And we see the great news. We made an excellent fold as small blind turns over queen 10 of hearts. So it makes a lot of sense why he tanked forever on the turn. He wasn't sure, but he was getting a good price, he thought, and then boated up on the river. And Under the Gun 1 showed a jack 9 for a worse straight. So very happy that we did make the right decision in the end, but it does suck that we're down to about 10,000 in chips. Blinds up to 200, 400 now, and we look down at ace queen of clubs. Time to rebuild. I open it up to 800 and get 4 callers. That's right, already 4,000 chips in the middle before we even seen a flop. And what a flop it is when the dealer puts out a king, jack, deuce with 2 clubs, flopping a nut straight, nut flush draw. Once the blinds check it over to me, I have a decision to make. If I was last to act, I would certainly be betting this, but I got a little sneaky with it. I decided to check because I've got 2 players that are pretty active behind me, and my plan is to check jam over whatever they bet. They do not take the bait though, so our plans go up in flames. The turn is a 3 of spades. So plan A would have been to hit one of our draws, but now we're gonna have to go to plan B. So once the blinds check to me, I thought that I could probably have a similar result to the flop if I check jam on this turn. Because I think once people check around on the flop, if they were to stab on this turn, they either have a kind of a weak king or maybe a jack. They might even have a worse flush draw, although I do have the ace and the queen of clubs. So I decided to do that again. I check, and finally, someone takes the bait. Hijack bets 2,200, so half pot, which is pretty significant when there's 5 people in the pot. Cutoff folds, both blinds fold. Now it's back to me. I could just call, I guess, but I thought that my opponent would give me a lot of credit for trapping here with so many people in the pot. So I just stick to my original plan of jamming all in for 9,400. I feel like I have a lot of fold equity against a lot of his Jack X holdings. I'm not sure I can get a king to fold once I check it twice. I don't know he'll give me credit for such a strong hand, but yeah, I'm just praying for a fold. And after a 50-second tank, my opponent lands on a call. So plan A was to get him to fold. Plan B is now we need to bink one of our cards on the turn, and we see that we're up against ace jack offsuit, so not even a jack gave me credit. And so I think that I have to kind of like go back to the drawing board on this one and maybe just start by betting on the flop. Either way though, we do have still a ton of outs against his hand. Let's get there on the river.
Good.
Nice hand. It doesn't come in, and our first bullet of the 550 today, we are out. Bullet 2 is going much better. I never really got over starting stack for a while, but I have just been shoving, either doubling up and kind of just hanging out. I've been here for about 4 hours now when I finally get another double up spot against this same guy who I've gone all in against 3 times. We are having so much fun at the table, and if I win this all in, I will finally be up to double starting stack and have some momentum in this tournament. So I go all in with pocket 7s, and my big blind opponent, who's been so splashy with his chips but really fun to play with in terms of like his table talk and general presence, does call me off with king 9 offsuit. So can we hold one time? Nope. And just like that, we're out of the second bullet. Skipped the online grind tonight because we had a very important sweat. So heading into the final day of the week, we are slightly down, but Sundays are make or break type of sessions. You can bust your entire online account, or you can have really huge scores. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed and our spirits high.
You guys, I don't want to jinx it, but right now there's 16 left in the Sunday scrimmage on Global with $14,000 up top. I don't want to get too excited. There's still 16 people left, but it's looking pretty damn good. We also got the bracelet going on over here. The puppies are excited, right? You guys excited? Oh my gosh, he hit an 8. Hold! No! Okay, well, whatever. We're still 10 left. We're still in the bracelet. My dogs still do not care. Let's go! That's us. 14 blinds. Final 9. Oh, are you sweating me?
Yeah, of course.
I was just about to come in and tell you. I spoiled it.
What, do you think I'm not going to be watching you play from in here?
Final table!
Yeah, let's go,
Look,
baby. I
he's
can't believe that guy showed up with 9s against you. This guy is like insane.
I know. He had like 2 blinds for like a long time. 14K up top.
Let's go. Get him. Get him, girl.
Okay, so real quick, we've got 1 minute left of break. Let's look at these numbers. Locked up 1,200, but we're looking for 14 up top. Everybody is super close in chips. Like, look at these stack sizes. And the chip leader just doubled up this guy. So, we've got work to do. Let's go. I have no idea why I'm so nervous. I really want to get this all in through. Come on. Nobody call. 1 more. Please. Phew. 7 left, you guys. Oh my god, 6. Let's go. Just lost another one. We're 5 of 5. We're guaranteed 4,200, but look at our tiny little nub. We're gonna have to spin it up. Well, we tried. Got 5th. Still a good result. We'll take it. Good way to end the week. Makes us up on the week for sure. Tournaments.
And with that, the first week is in the books of the Bankroll Challenge, and it's off to a great start. We played $6,700 worth of buy-ins, cash for over $9,000, mostly thanks to the discipline of coming home and playing online. Total tournaments, we played 66 tournaments, 42 hours worth of poker for a grand profit of $2,348. Hope you guys enjoyed this type of content, and I'll see you guys in week 2.